In this video, we would like to know the configuration which we want to do for Databricks. So let's go to first of all the Microsoft documentation and understand what is this Databricks in Azure. So Azure Databricks is a data analytics platform optimized for Microsoft Azure Cloud Services platform. Azure Databricks offer three environment for development: data intensive application, Databricks SQL, data science and engineering, and Databricks machine learning. Then Databricks SQLs provide an easy to use platform for analysts who want to run SQL on their data lake, create multiple visualizations type to explore query results from different perspectives, and build and share dashboard. Now Databricks has a connector for Power BI, so we can connect Databricks to Power BI and can do our analysis. So what we will do today is we are going to learn first of all how can we create Azure Databricks connection, and I have a free account where I'm going to do that. And please remember, after I have the class, I actually go ahead and delete anything which is a paid version. So if you are a channel subscriber, you might have seen we have done something on Azure SQL, so I have went ahead and delete those instances. Now for Azure Databricks, I'm going to create it, and it's going to incur some cost when we run the machines. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it after the class. But the thing which you see that I already have here a storage account where I stored my data, which I have already shown on my channel in the when we connect with the data lake. So Gen 2 storage, that I have a video on that. So in that video I've shown you how do we store it, and that's the same storage I will try to configure on Databricks. So I'll try to use the Gen 2 storage into the Databricks, and then I would like to access that. So let's begin by creating Azure Databricks. Okay, create Azure Databricks service. The free trial, the resource group, I'm going to use the existing resource group, and then workspace name, let me give you it demo Amit WS. I'll keep rest of the things as default, standard up, or I can use this one, or let's use standard. Then deploy Azure secure cluster, no fixed IP, no public IP. Let's keep it like this. Deploy a Databricks workspace in own virtual network. Let's say no. Advanced, enable infrastructure info, no. Tags, no. Review and create, and we say validation done successfully. And now we are getting a create button, and it's going to take a little bit of time for creating this one. So let's see, this is getting submitted. Now we are redirected to another screen, and again here deployment is in progress, and you will see as the deployment progress we will get rows here of Azure Databricks deployment. See, I'll pause the video here, and once everything is loaded, then I'll start it again. So our deployment is completed, and it is giving us button to go to resource. Let's click on that, and now we can see our demo Amit workspace, where we have this Azure Databricks workspace created. You can see the URL, you can see the subscription type, and few other details, and the documentation and access management control detail, etc. Now next thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to say launch workspace. I'm going to open a separate window. Again, going to ask for my login. And now it is opening the Databricks. and instead of what's your current project, data project, and all those, I'm going to skip. There is no cluster right now created, and it's showing create a cluster. So I'll directly jump onto that step and I say create cluster. Now here when I'm creating the cluster, I need to create a single cluster, because single node cluster, because if I try to create a multi-node cluster, I need to have that much amount available and all those, so it can create a problem. So I'm going to create the smallest one, single node cluster. So let's see, is there I think D3 V2 should be the smallest one. I think V2 is also there, which is actually 28 GB. Yes, so D3 V2 is the smallest one, 4 core 14 GB. That's what we are going to do. We are not going to add key or tags here. We'll keep everything rest the same, and we'll say create cluster. Again, this is going to take a little bit of time, so you have to wait for it to create the cluster. So it cluster is created, and it takes a little bit of time. Now let's look at some of the details which we'll be needing for this cluster. So so you go down, you see this advanced option. In this advanced option, you have these Spark details which are there, and there is no init script right now. If needed, we can add that. But the most important thing is this JDBC ODBC, because here you are getting this server host name and HTTP path. This is what you are going to use in Power BI. So we are done with creating of our cluster. So cluster is ready, and the next step is to create a notebook. And in this notebook, with the help of this notebook, what we are going to do is we are going to create a database and a table, and that table is one which is mapped with our storage account. So in the storage account, we already have our 4 tables which we had, and we can connect one of them just for a sample right now, and we can use that. So what we are going to do is, first let's create a notebook, and I'm going to create a SQL notebook, but you have an option for Python, Scala, SQL, and R. All 4 languages we have the option, and let me call it as test notebook, and I'm going to create it in SQL. I have a SQL code which I'll share in the comments. And if I go here, workspace user, I'm now able to see the workbook. Otherwise I can actually go here, workspace user, and I can find out my notebook. Okay, so now let's get the script. So let me quickly get the script. This is the script I already have. Okay, so I'll explain you the script. So we are saying create database test, then create table test, this database name, and sales, the table name, order number int, order item ID int, sales date string int, city ID int, quantity int, price int, cogs int, and discount percentage is int. And these are the detail of my workspace and the Azure token I have, which I'm getting it into here. Okay, so sales the CSV. If we go back here, if I go back to my home, I go back to my storage account, there I'll get my CSV details. So we have access key already here. Okay, so these are our access key details, and we can go to tables and files and look at that. So let's go to storage browser, and inside the storage browser, let's go to blob containers, and inside the blob containers, let's go to demo Amit, and we'll be able to see all the 4 files, and you can find the details about a particular file here. Okay, so this is the URL, and this is the same thing which we are using here. Okay, so I got the URL, I got the token, file format, and then format options we got, and the copy options. Okay, we select all these and we run this. and the Spark job started. And I can stop the execution in between, but I won't, but let it complete. See, we can open here and see the details. Okay, and the table has been created. We have 30,000 rows. The table has been created with 30,000 rows. So this is how you create your table in Azure Databricks. Now what we have to do is we have to go to Power BI and configure this. I have started the Power BI and now I would like to connect to Azure Databricks. So I click on the Get Data under the Home tab and I click on More to get to the option of Azure Databricks, and there I search for Databricks and I'll use Azure Databricks here and I say connect. Now when you connect, it will ask you server host name and HTTP path. I told you already, but let's have a look. You need to go to the cluster details, scroll little bit down in the JDBC, ODBC details. You will get the server name which you need to give here, and then you will also get the HTTP path which you need to give here. Now I have two options, import and direct query. Let me first choose direct query. Is giving some, please specify the server host name. Okay, let me copy paste it again. I entered again and it just started working. I just removed it and done it. Let me again try direct query. And then it is asking for username and password, and I have to use Azure Active Directory or personal token authentication. I'm going to use this Azure Active Directory. Sign in. It will open a pop-up. It opened a pop-up and I'm able to log in using that. And let me say connect now. And I have to go to Hive metadata store. Test is my database which I created there. You can see it's appearing as a folder out here, and then I use sales. Now the performance of this is entirely dependent on what kind of cluster you're taken. Okay, let me load it. And what you are going to do is we are going to quickly look into some data analysis and check it out. Let's look at it. Let's do certain changes. Now we are in DEX, so most probably we should be able to make it as a date. Now direct query, you have certain limitations, but let's do certain changes. And order number, let me say don't summarize. So let me say order number, quantity, first time it may take a little bit of time to load. We got it. Now quantity is sum or not? Yes, it is sum, and then we can drag price also. And let me create a quick measure out here, which is nothing but my gross amount measure, which is nothing but sum x sales price into quantity. And then we use this measure here. We got the data. Okay, now let's do quickly. Let's import the table again. Let's this time in the import mode. So we go to the get data, or let's see, do we see no, let's go to the data more. Databricks, Azure Databricks connect. Again, let's give the detail quickly. And this time I'll say import. All things are fine. Press OK. Hi Metastore test. And then I select this table and I say load. And you see this time it loaded a little bit faster there because things are in memory, and now the time taken would be just between the communication between the two things. Data is not so huge. So we got all the 30,000 rows, and if I go to the data layer, you can differentiate between the two. See, I can see the data of this table, not of the other table. That's direct query. So let's quickly create a page here, and now same thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to make it as a date. Okay, and then I'm going to again make it order number as don't summarize. Quickly bring in order number here. Now you can see the performance difference. We have a very small instance there. Price, quantity, and let's bring in our major. Quickly bring in our major gross. I'll only call gross AMT, SumX, sales to price. Now let's little bit carefulness is required. Price into sales to quantity, and it got created there. And now this is how things work in Power BI, where you clicked. Now you can see the same amount 9970883, and we are going to get the same amount also here 9970883. So this is how you create a Databricks environment and use it. So we are done with the learning of this one, and because I'm on a free account, I would like to show that I'm going to terminate this, and it's going to take a little bit of time, and I'm going to make sure that it get terminated, and after that I'm going to delete the cluster, as well as I'm going to go and delete the my Azure Databricks which I created in my portal. So I'm going to delete that. So now I've stopped the cluster. Okay, I can go back here and click on the compute, and I can see my cluster here, and in my cluster here on the three dots, when I scroll right hand side, I see a delete option, and I say delete, and it's saying deleted cluster. The cluster has been deleted. Let's see, do we have anything else left out in the workspace? We have this test, and we'll say move to trash, confirm and move to trash. We go here in the trash, and we say empty trash. So I have done the empty trash also, and let's go back to Azure portal and go back to the home of Azure portal. We see this resource. We click on this resource, Azure Databricks resource, and we have a delete button here, and I'm deleting now. So go ahead and try that out. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you.